Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Thirsty Thursday edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings. Jesse Cofield is here. My voice. You are listening to Emerson Latzia. Damn good to have you here. Last night in the NBA, no problem for Memphis, at least for one night. That's a season low in points for the Lakers as well. No Giannis, no problem for Milwaukee, at least for one night. Bucks led the Heat by as much as 36 points. We're going to dive into the NBA with Julian Edlow and Nick Whalen of RotoWire. We got a lot, though, coming up in this show if we want to just tease a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to have the baseball guys putting up their bukes. The race for the sweaty boot continues. NHL postseason picks and NFC South draft needs as we get closer and closer.
Indeed. It's 1 week from today. And 1 week from today, we will have an NFL draft special, like a 2-hour special here. We're going to be decked out in our handsome and beautiful H&M outfits.
Wow.
You just purchased yours yesterday. You're a little
Hopefully
nervous if it's going to fit you or not, but you have a jacket and pants. Look forward to seeing you in pants.
Okay, well, since Julian's here, we should probably talk NBA.
Let's do
transition.
Let's do that. So last night, before we get into tonight's playoff slate here, Jules, last night, as we mentioned, no Giannis, no Ja was not a problem for either one of those teams, the Grizzlies and the Bucks. Both teams evening up their series. Which team's win was more impressive to you?
More impressive, probably the Bucks, just in terms of the way that they did it. I know they were larger favorites. Obviously, the Lakers-Memphis game was a pick'em, but both home teams down 1-0. Those are games that you got to win, and those are games that I think we expected them to win, even down star players at home. So my expectation was that both of those teams would win. I know, going by the spread, Memphis should be more impressive. But for me, it's just the way that the Bucks did it without Giannis. We've seen Memphis have success without Morant. We know Tyus Jones is one of the best backup point guards in the league. You can plug him right in and expect to win big games. So I think that Milwaukee going bananas without Giannis on offense and putting up all those points is the bigger story.
Milwaukee had 6 players score at least 15 points, which is tied for most ever in a playoff game. But Nick, other game here. LeBron James teams, when they have a 2-0 lead in a best-of-7 series, are 24-0 all time. So the Lakers definitely blew their chance to put away Memphis last night.
Well, they could still do it, with the series shifting back to Los Angeles. And you got to keep in mind that, this is going to be kind of the first true home playoff game of the LeBron-Lakers era, which seems crazy. But with the pandemic and, they missed the playoffs a couple of times. That place is going to be rocking on Saturday for Game 3. So the Lakers, if you look at the series line, they're still favored to win the series. But you're right, Emerson. This was a huge missed opportunity. And honestly, if you've watched the Lakers this season, this should not be surprising. That was a classic Lakers letdown spot. They don't take teams seriously that they believe are beneath them. We saw it a number of times, even at the end of the regular season. They go to overtime against the Jazz. They get played really tough again by a Jazz team that's sitting everybody. They struggle in the play-in. It's a team that plays up and plays down to its competition. And, this game was pretty emblematic of the reason that a lot of people remain very skeptical of Anthony Davis. He was fantastic in Game 1. That was one of the best individual defensive performances I've ever seen. And then he shows up with a complete no-show on both ends in Game 2. I know he had 5 blocks, but you got dominated by a backup center, man, a second-round pick, Xavier Tillman. The Lakers just came out flat. They were flat the entire game. They never really made a run. D'Angelo Russell was awful in this game as well. So, this is a spot where, a true title contending team sees Ja Morant out, Steven Adams out, Brandon Clark out, and says, we're not letting this team win. We're going up 2-0. We're finishing this out in Los Angeles. But this is why I remain really, really skeptical, guys, of the Lakers being, some sort of true title contending team. A really good team doesn't put up 93 points in a spot like this.
All right, Nick, as for tonight, Nets home after losing 2 in Philly. Sixers just 5-point favorites in this one. Is this your best chance, do you think, for Brooklyn to steal a game here? Like, what's your best bet going to be in this one?
4.5 now.
4.5. Gone down a bit.
4.5. Wow. I think by default, this kind of feels like the last stand for the Nets. Obviously, if they lose this game, it's total back against the wall situation. Maybe you catch Philly asleep at the wheel in Game 4, but this is a kind of a make or break situation for the Brooklyn Nets. And I like Philly here, guys. -4.5. I think that's a pretty good deal. I know they're on the road, but the Nets have just had no resistance whatsoever for this Philly offense. I mean, Philly's got an offensive rating close to 122 on the series. The Nets are down at like 103. You have to keep in mind, like this is a Nets team that was the 6th seed, but 2/3 of the season they had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving pushing them toward that 6th seed. So it's kind of a little bit of a misnomer when it comes to the product on the court right now versus the seed number. I think they're closer to a play-in team or even like a team slightly below that. So Philly should dominate the series. They have dominated the series. I think that continues tonight, and we could be headed toward a sweep.
All right, Jules, what do we think?
Yeah, this is one that before the series, I laid the 2.5 games with Philly to get this done in 5 or less. Could it be a sweep? Yeah, it gives them that closeout Game 5 at home in their back pocket. I could see this being a sweep in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's not, obviously record-wise, they are where they are because of that, whatever it was, 20-2 hot streaks. Oh my God, I can't talk.
Hot streak.
Hell yeah,
I was
brother.
between stretch or streak.
Dude.
That Durant took them on earlier in the year. Obviously, they didn't close out strong, but they're still with Bridges and Dinwiddie and some of these guys that they got. Obviously, Cam Johnson putting up big numbers, DFS, a well-rounded player. Like, they have players that can win them one of these home games. The question is, are they going to be able to contain Embiid? They don't have a matchup for Embiid. Claxton, great defensive player, but just way too oversized in that matchup. So my gut tells me that Brooklyn can grind out one of these home games, and it's Sixers in 5, and I have a hard time picking which one that's going to be. So with a series line in my back pocket, I'll probably leave these games alone. I would use this Game 3 as the feel-out game if you're going to try and bet one of them, and then potentially try and get a bet on Game 4. I know that's the boring answer, but if there's a game that Brooklyn has to come out with some energy, maybe you look at them in the first half line in Game 3. This would be the game.
And if you want to bet series exact games there, you can still go 4 games plus 115. Still get some plus money.
115 for the
that.
sweep. All right.
Yeah.
2 games, Sixers money line parlay right there.
Jules, Warriors are finally back home, which they know they're a lot better playing basketball at home than they are on the road this season. No Draymond Green, which I believe you said the other day on this program shouldn't really impact this at all, at least doesn't in your mind. They're looking to avoid this disastrous 3-0 series deficit against the Kings. Where are you going for your favorite bet in this?
So I have this one from my Tuesday NBA Best Bets article linked in with some money line parlays. I did it with the Cavs. I probably should have just laid the points with the Cavs. That was a blowout. But I think that you can use the Warriors. I'm not going to lay all the points. I think they're a money line parlay piece. Whether you already have them tied to something, you can look to use them. If you like the Sixers, you can look to use them. If you like the Celtics on Friday night, going down to an Atlanta team that they've beat up pretty good all year long. The Warriors are going to win this game. Now, they're the worst team in the NBA on the road, especially given what they should be. They're also the best team against the spread at home in the NBA. Sacramento, best road team against the spread in the NBA. So it's strength on strength pretty much here. But even without Draymond Green, this is a desperation game that the Warriors have to have if their season is going to have any shot. They still obviously need to win one on the road if they're going to win this series, but you can't do any of that until you get this home game. I'm pretty confident that they get it done behind big performances from Curry and Klay Thompson. The rest of those questionable guys, I expect them all to play and play pretty well. They can make up for the lack of Draymond for one game. They have the bodies to do it, and I think that they will.
Do you think they do it? You think they get it done tonight, Nick? Warriors 6-point favorites at home.
I'll tell you what, I'm not touching the 6, but I think Jules is right here. Kind of involve that Warriors money line in a parlay to get a little bit better value here. I don't know. I don't really know what the pivot is for Golden State. They're going to miss Draymond Green defensively. They haven't been all that great on defense in this series as it is. And do you dust off JaMychal Green? Do you dust off Jonathan Kuminga? Like they don't really have a true pivot. This is a team that suddenly feels really, really shallow, especially with guys like Jordan Poole not at 100% and not playing well. So I do think the Warriors are in a bit of trouble here. I'm surprised that this number has hung around at 5.5 and actually moved to 6 at the DraftKings Sportsbook earlier this morning. It feels like a lot of blind faith in a team that's down 0-2, and I thought got beat pretty handily in both of those games. I didn't really view either of them as fluky losses. The thing that would really concern me if I'm Golden State is it's not like Sacramento, had a Milwaukee type of game in Game 1 or Game 2 where everybody's on fire, you're raining in, 22 three-pointers, you're shooting 65% from deep. The Kings are at 30% from 3 on the series. Like, Harrison Barnes has not made shots. Kevin Huerter's been bad. Keegan Murray is starting the game and barely playing in the second half, and they're still putting up a 117 offensive rating in those first 2 games. So taking Draymond away from that situation does worry me. But I still like the Warriors on the money line. I think they do deserve the benefit of the doubt. This was a team that won the title less than a year ago. They still have most of those pieces. Andrew Wiggins should continue to settle in as this series goes along. So I'll take the Warriors money line. I'll take Kings +6 and give me Steph Curry over 29.5 points tonight. He shoots the three about 5 percentage points better at home this season.
The one quick thing you were mentioning, Nick, the names that could fill in for Draymond Green. The one name you didn't mention, Gary Payton. Played 27 minutes last game. I know he's a smaller guard, 13.6 rebounds. I think the Warriors have to go small and put Gary Payton in there with Curry, Clay, Wiggins, and Looney. Looney only played 23 minutes last game. He has to stay out of foul trouble and get those minutes. But I think Gary Payton is going to be the guy that fills in for Draymond, and the Warriors go small in this one at home.
All right, Suns on the road in LA. Okay, Clippers beat the Suns 115-110 to open the series. They covered as 8-point road dogs. Game 2, different story. Suns covering the 8-point spread, winning 123-109. So, Nick, now Suns are just 3-point favorites, much smaller spread after both of these games. So what do you think? What's the bet in this one?
This has been a really tough series to get a handle on. And, if you look at the series line, despite it being 1-1 right now, the Suns are almost minus 300 to win this. So the books are not really backing off despite a bit of a shaky game 1. I actually thought Phoenix was relatively lucky to win game 2 in the way that they did. I mean, they were hitting an immense amount of difficult shots in the mid-range. Torrey Craig was on fire for the second straight game. And meanwhile, the Clippers role players didn't make anything. Nick Batum, Bones Highland, Norm Powell, those guys went 0 of 11 from beyond the arc. I mean, if they hit 2 or 3 of those, I think that game could have been completely different. But with that said, I'll still take the Suns here. I know they're on the road, but this should not be a huge home court advantage for the Clippers. They're not one of those teams that has a raucous arena. I do like Kawhi Leonard over 29.5 points in this game. It just feels like he's at like an automatic 30 points at this point. If you look into some of the efficiency stats, he's actually playing better in these playoffs than he was even at his what we thought was his peak in that Toronto run. So he's been fantastic. And I mentioned Norm Powell struggling. He's 2 of 20 from 3 over his last 6 games if you involve the last few of the regular season. But you could get him to make 2 threes in this game at +115. The minutes are going to be there. The shots are going to be there. He's still taking like 4 to 6 threes every game. He's just missing all of them. And he made 2.5 per game during the regular season. So getting that at +115 is a prop that I'm targeting for this game.
All right, Jules, what do you think? What's the best bet here?
Yeah, like Nick said, this is a tougher series, and I think it's because we're still feeling out the market on the Suns. They had 8 games with Durant coming into the postseason. They lose their postseason debut as, big favorites, so it's hard to get a feel for them. And then they're down 12 in the second quarter in that last game before making the comeback. The Suns are overvalued on the whole. But in this game, I have to lean towards them. They got to make up some ground for losing that game 1, and they are the more talented team. Now, they don't have a bench, so they have to do it with the starters playing big minutes. KD played 44 in game 2. Booker played 45. Even Chris Paul, who they try and hold back a little bit, played 38. So if they play those guys big minutes, I still think that they're the better team, and they are going to get a win in this game. Prop-wise, I would look at maybe Durant points. Booker carried them last game. I think now they kind of transition more to Durant. And one of the things that's been going very well for the Suns, Chris Paul had 8 assists in game 2. One of the things that they've been doing, Devin Booker has been a big assist guy since bringing in Kevin Durant in the games that Durant plays in. Booker had 9 assists in game 2. So I think for a prop, Booker assists would probably be where I would look in this one.
All right, gentlemen, your job here is done. We're going to poke over to baseball coming up because one of the biggest names in the game is the
Steve
cheapest
Buchanan?
you could possibly be on DraftKings tonight. And we'll see what upsets really come out of tonight's slate around the NBA. But Rasheed Wallace, here you go, speaking of the NBA, visiting the compound to talk about his Pistons upsetting Kobe and Shaq in 2004 in the latest starting 5.
Ball don't lie.
No, it certainly doesn't, Julian.
It's funny because y'all team had the same spirit as the original Bad Boys.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
It was like that. Yeah.
It was like the
Bad Boy
remix.
Juniors.
Yeah, it was
Like
like
they brothers that came back for
was
revenge.
that like when the team was being put together? Was that this feeling like that spirit? Because y'all really embodied them. Like,
man, to be honest, I think that's a question better for Joe D, because he's the one that put that team together. And on all our individual teams, we was, except for Rip, we were in Tayshaun, because Tayshaun was drafted by Detroit.
Tayshaun.
But myself, Ben, Chauncey, you know, we were quote unquote misfits on the other team, especially me. You know me, I had to run in with the refs and all of that. Yeah. But man, we clicked. It was like a click right away because they played defense. And then playing with Ben made that so easy, dog. Oh man, he made that so easy because everybody took, well, number one, that personal challenge, playing defense. Yep. Like, yo, you know, I got him. And if he busts my ass, then he gonna bust my ass, yo.
But I got him.
But I got him. And then so that's how we were able to actually stand up and beat LA. Because Ben took that challenge to guard Shaq one-on-one where we don't have to help. Oh, bet. So now, if I wanted to, because they really didn't have the power forward position locked down like that. So, you know, I might go back and forth and double and come back, whatever, faking and coming down. Then they had, you know, Kobe, of course, he's grade 8. He's going to do what he do.
Ain't no stopping that.
So it was like, Tayshaun, that's who we're going to help more. So, you know, because Kobe's the type of player, if you're watching the big fella do his work, Kobe cuts.
That's
you know
right,
what I'm saying?
by
Boom. So we're just keeping our eyes on him. Ben got him. And boom, man, it was a hell of a run. We stole game 1. Once we did that
it was over.
In LA, and they beat game 2, we were on an airplane, right? And almost simultaneously, everybody said, like, yo, y'all know we can't go back. If we go back there, the league gonna get us.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of The Sweat. You know what we're not sweating? Tonight's MLB slate. Because we have DraftKings contributors Steve Buchanan and Gary Thorne here for Put Up Your Bukes. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Oh, put up.
Look how Jack Bukes is in that.
Man.
One of the greatest animations ever.
Yeah, absolutely unreal.
He's like that real person. Right?
Okay, be quiet. So here's how this goes. If you don't know, Steve is going to give his favorite DFS plays for the night. Then Garion is either going to roll with his pick or he's going to put up his bukes.
He's
and
always going to put up his bukes.
Yes,
he says he's never going to agree with Steve. But
he's always going to pivot.
When we get to the value play department, if you disagree with Steve, you're going to look like an absolute nincompoop.
Okay, well, speaking of value, we start with pitchers, and Steve, you're going down the board here.
Wow.
Yeah, look, you know, I am so happy that baseball is back, but this is one of those slates that really is like, well, it is a grind because there are going to be some slates that are just absolutely disgusting, and that's what we have here tonight. But I'm going with Luke Weaver, who is coming off the IL at 5,900 tonight, going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. To be fair, the Pirates have actually been a pretty competitive team in the early going here. Like, I can't even imagine what they might look like if O'Neal Cruz was going to be healthy for the next few months. But that being said, Weaver is just very, very cheap for the type of pitcher that he can be. He's obviously had his fair share of struggles, but he's somebody that can provide some nice strikeout upside, and that's kind of why I'm targeting him here in this matchup against the Pirates. Weaver, all throughout his career, has struck out over a batter per inning, sometimes reaching as high as 10 in some of the earlier years that he was in Major League Baseball. But at 5,900, feels like a really generous price for him tonight. Really doesn't have to go out and blow the doors off this Pirates team. But when you look at the choices for pitchers tonight, yeah, Weaver might be one of the more attractive guys that you can go with.
All right, Garion, why is Weaver not your guy?
I mean, he's not a very good pitcher. He hasn't thrown a pitch in the majors this season. He's coming off an injury. Even when he was playing and active in 2022, he was a reliever for most of the season. I will say, to his credit, you know, the Pirates did just score 37 runs in their series, but we sometimes talk about the Coors Field hangover, where when you leave Coors Field, suddenly you come back to like regular earth and breaking pitches start moving like actual breaking pitches, and it messes with hitters for a couple of days. So maybe that does happen with the Pirates tonight, but I'll match Steve value play for value play here and go with Matt Strom, who also a guy who's transitioning from a relief role to a starter's role through 67 pitches in his last outing. So hopefully he's sort of built up to that 75, 80 pitch range tonight. But he's also going up against a team that is leaving Coors Field. He's going up against the Rockies, who are on the road. So let's just pick against the Rockies. They have the worst WRC plus of any team in baseball. Any team in the National League at just 76 so far this season. And Strom, while he hasn't been super stretched out, the strikeout numbers have been really encouraging as a starting pitcher. In his 4 appearances, he's got a 32% strikeout rate and almost a 15% swinging strike rate. Those are elite marks. Small sample size, obviously, but on a slate this dire and just bereft of talent, I think Matt Strom has some serious upside. He might actually be my favorite play at 7K.
Steve, you all right? You were giggling there for a little bit.
Great usage of some big words there by Garion.
Oh.
We like big words on this show. We may not always understand what they mean, but we appreciate them. And Steve, we'd appreciate if you give us your top infielder tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pete Alonso here in a fantastic matchup against Giants starter Sean Manaea. You look at his numbers, 4.76 ERA. It's okay. 7.42 expected ERA. Obviously, small sample here, but the defense behind him has been clearly bailing him out in the early 3 games that he's pitched so far this season. But you go back just to even last year against righties, 349 WOBA against them, almost a 2 home run per 9 innings against righties. I don't know if you've noticed this already, but Pete Alonso is absolutely hitting the cover off the ball at this point. He's already logged 28 at-bats against lefties so far this season, 9 hits against them, 5 of them have gone for extra bases, 4 of them were home runs. He is seeing the ball extremely well right now. And with somebody like Manaea, who struggles with the home run ball to begin with, this is a terrible matchup for Manaea against this Mets club, but specifically going up against Pete Alonso. I think he's one of your best infielders for tonight. The second one is in the value play, and we'll talk about him in a couple minutes.
Yeah, we certainly will. Gare Bear, put up your bukes here at the infielder position, please.
Well, one thing Steve and I can agree on is how much we like the Diamondbacks this year and how much we are invested in the Diamondbacks this year. And one of the reasons the Diamondbacks have been so good is Josh Rojas at the top of their lineup, specifically against right-handed pitching. He's $4,400 tonight, going up against Michael Wacha. Wacha has not had a great start to the season. Specifically, it's left-handed batters who have given him the most issues. Lefties have a slugging percentage way above 700 against Wacha so far this season. They've got a WOBA way above 400 against Wacha. His last start, he gave up 11 hits and 7 earned runs. So he's not exactly feeling it right now. I think Rojas, who this season is hitting 349 against right-handed pitching with a 127 WRC plus. Again, hitting atop that Diamondbacks lineup, maybe gets 5, maybe 6 plate appearances tonight, depending on how things go for the Diamondbacks. I think he's a really nice spot. Doesn't have the power upside of some of the other infielders tonight, but could definitely rack up 2 or 3 hits.
All right. Outfielder, Steve, who are you rolling with here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ian Happ over with the Cubs. He's been quietly crushing it. Since the season began, he's averaging just under 10 DraftKings fantasy points over his last 10 games, which includes 5 doubles, a home run, 7 RBIs, and 4 runs scored. But the part of his game that really seems like it's become more of a normalcy here is that he's stealing some bases. Already has 3 stolen bases on the year. He's not exactly known for doing that, and his career high in stolen bases, which he's done twice now, is at 9. So he's already at 3, and we're 20 days into the season at this point. Matchup tonight isn't too shabby either, going against Michael Grove, who against lefty since last year has a 375 WOBA again. So I feel like this is somebody that no one's really talking about thus far, but if he's providing all the tools right now, hitting for power, swiping some bags, getting on base, he's a pretty good play here tonight.
Yeah, he's feasting from the left half of the batter's box. Garion, what do you think? Are you going to put up your bukes here?
I am going to put up my bukes. I will also go with a switch hitter, though, ironically enough. Although a switch hitter who kind of falls into like the Ozzie Albies category of switch hitter, which is maybe you should stop being a switch hitter at some point. Take the Cedric Mullins route. Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds is coming off a really weird series against the Rockies. Everyone on Pittsburgh was hitting, except for Brian Reynolds at Coors Field, which seems strange because he was the hottest hitter in baseball prior to going to Colorado. A big reason he struggled, the Rockies threw 2 left-handed pitchers at Brian Reynolds in that series. Reynolds has an 11 WRC plus when he's a right-handed batter. He has a 162 WRC plus when he is a left-handed hitter. Luke Weaver, a right-handed pitcher. Luke Weaver had an ERA over 6.5 last season. Luke Weaver had a 420 on base percentage to the left-handed batters he faced. Lefties have been an issue for him throughout his career, all the way back to with the Diamondbacks. I think that the Pirates can score some runs tonight off of Luke Weaver, and I think Brian Reynolds is going to be a big part of that.
All right, Bukes, we've been teasing it. Time to deliver. In the value department, never have I ever seen a dude who at one point was making his case as the face of professional baseball after signing one of the biggest contracts in MLB history. Never have I ever seen him at the bottom of the salary bin. Cheapest you could ever get on DraftKings, $2,000 at least for Major League Baseball. Fernando Tatis Jr.?
I mean, just pull up his picture, his player profile for tonight. Let's just get the whole scope of what we're dealing with here tonight. Who fell asleep at the wheel? Who's not paying attention? Who's getting fired at DraftKings today that they made Fernando Tatis Jr. the bare minimum in salary tonight? I also picked this because I really wanted to put Garian's notion to test. Is he really going to disagree with every single play on this segment? Because if you say that you don't agree that Fernando Tatis Jr. is the value play tonight, then you are just a bold-faced liar, and I feel like I don't even know who you are anymore. There is no reason to not play Tatis tonight. I don't care if he's 100% owned. He is that free square that you just go and put into your lineup tonight. Even if he goes 0 for 4, I don't care. It was the right play because he is the bare minimum. Somebody who just hit, 7 home runs in the 8 games that he just played in AAA pitching. Yeah, he's ready. He's ready to play, and you're going to be playing him tonight at the shortstop or outfield position, whatever he's eligible at. I just can't get over that he's 2K, and somebody's getting fired today.
This is mind-boggling stuff, Gare Bear. I know he hasn't played in the majors since the final day of the 2021 season, but Bukes just ripped off how damn good he's been at the AAA level. There is no way you can put up your Bukes on this one. We will allow you to agree with Steve for once in this segment's history.
One time, one exception.
One
No,
time.
say that.
No, I mean, look, I'll be honest. When I saw his list of players, and I was like, okay, sure, Fernando Tatis Jr.
Okay.
Maybe he's like 3.8 or 3.9 for some reason. I'm like, there's no way he's still 2K. There's no way he found that weird loophole that sometimes these IL guys find or these like top prospects. But lo and behold, he's 2K tonight. I mean, look, this segment isn't about me necessarily saying it's a bad play. I just might have a better play. And the reason my play might be better is because, like Steve said, there's a serious chance that Fernando Tatis Jr.'s ownership is like 97.8% tonight. Like, you do try to want to stay away from just absolute chalk like that. And also, I want to give a shout out to Jack Sawinski, who's just $2,900 tonight. Jack Sawinski so far this season, 100 percentile in expected slugging percentage, 100th percentile in barrel rate, 99th percentile in expected WOBA. He's got a 1.071 OPS against right-handed pitching. I mean, his Baseball Savant page looks as red as Fernando Tatis Jr.'s Baseball Savant page will look in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, he doesn't qualify for anything yet because he hasn't had a plate appearance, but I think Jack Sawinski's in a really nice spot. He's really cheap, and he's a variance play, as is anyone else on this slate, of Fernando Tatis Jr.
All right, good stuff, guys. Appreciate the time.
Nice job, Steve and
your
Darian.
job is done here. Big news for Emerson, who is a huge, huge Edmonton Oilers
Lifelong
guy.
Edmonton fan for the past 2 months of my life.
They managed to not blow their 2-goal lead again
they
and
tried
again.
to.
They
They
tried
tried
to,
to.
but they ended, they did blow it, but then they got it back. So they tied the series with LA. Are they going to carry that momentum into game 3?
Yeah.
Our experts will weigh in next.
Another day in the first round of the NHL postseason, another day with 4 games on tap, and we got 2 dudes here to deliver a DFS preview of said slate. NHL.com's Pete Jensen, RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Panthers get the win against the Patrice Bergeron-less Boston Bruins last night. Hurricanes are now up 2-0 on the Islanders. Pete, I want to focus on the Oilers and Stars, though, who both even up their series at home. So between these two, which team is more likely to turn this momentum into a Game 3 victory on the road?
I think that it's the Dallas Stars. The Kings have been a very good home team this season. The Stars are able to win in both barns because they are a top 5 power play in the NHL and a top 5 penalty kill. They're one of the best stout defenses, one of the best goaltenders in the league in Ottinger. I love the response, to be honest with you, in Game 2, considering they were playing without one of their veteran leaders, Joe Pavelski. So, again, I think that Oilers-Kings series is going to be really back and forth, topsy-turvy, but I was a little concerned by the move to switch to Marc-Andre Fleury. Just the timing of it was kind of strange. And unfortunately for Minnesota, they haven't had great home success in the postseason over the past 5 to 10 years. So that might have been the momentum turn that would eventually win the series for Dallas.
Paul, 2 games in, LA's had to come back from 2-goal deficits in both games, as Jesse mentioned as we were going to break. What's your level of concern here with the Oilers? They're messing around a little too much.
I don't trust the Edmonton defense. I said it all season long, so that's not a surprise to me. And if LA can find any kind of a defensive structure that's consistent, they're going to make life miserable for the Oilers before this series is over. And I think they might even pull an upset. So that's how serious their possibilities are in that set. I wouldn't even discount Carolina, the Islanders and Carolina guys, because what they did is defend home ice. And the Islanders, even though they're down 0-2, they're going home. So they're not out of this series either at all, and they have the better goaltending situation as well. So I don't think the Canes are home and cooled out, and they lost another top 6 forward in Teravainen there. So big blow to their offense. So don't sleep on the Islanders just yet, folks.
All right, 4 games on tonight's slate, guys. So let's jump in. Which center are you rostering? Paul, how much exposure are you going to have to your dudes in Toronto after an extremely painful showing for the boys?
Oh, Paul.
Definitely hurt me. I mean, I'm on the IR for a month, and then I got to come back to a game like that. That's disgusting. But I'll start my comments with this Thursday night slate where we had four teams on home ice in Game 1 in these series, all losing and lopsided losses as well. So they're each going to be counting on their offensive catalyst to at least lead a possible rebound attempt. And of the top guys on those teams, I like Jack Hughes the best. He comes in at $7,900 as the highest end scorer who is priced lowest among the top end guys from those losers in Game 1, including Matthews and McKinnon, who is most likely to hit the score sheet as well. This guy, don't forget, is coming in hot with 4 goals and 5 helpers in his last 5 games played.
All right, what do we think, Pete? Which center do you want in your lineup?
I like what the Winnipeg Jets showed me in Game 1 at Vegas, and their top line right now is elite. Pierre-Luc Dubois is the guy that I'm targeting because he's playing with Kyle Connor, who was an 80-point scorer in the regular season. He's playing with Mark Scheifele, who's shifted to the wing. Scheifele scored 42 goals this season, which led Winnipeg. And for Dubois, multi-point game in the first game, set career highs this season in assists, points, and power play points. This is a guy that does it all. And when he's bringing the physical element and playing with exposure to that type of elite talent, like that's a middle of the road price that I would build my lineup around, even with Vegas and having Mark Stone back from injury and Stone and Eichel duo having potential. Like, to me, the more consistent force this season at the center position has been Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Hey, Pete, let's go to the wings and things department here, my dude. Maple Leafs forward Michael Bunting got suspended 3 games, so you don't want to roster him. LOL. Who would you stuff into your lineup, though, at this position?
A lot of the wings in the Rangers-Devils series are very intriguing. I think Patrick Kane for 5,100. I know he was pretty quiet in Game 1. You know, he did have an assist, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers do win Game 2, if the veterans are the guys that keep the train chugging along. So Patrick Kane, of course, you could compare him to Timo Meyer, and their impacts since the deadline have been a little quieter than we would have anticipated. But you look at the playoff track record of Kane, especially if the Devils are not going to be maybe mentally ready for this type of a challenge to tame a deep top 9 forward group of New York. I could see Kane returning value in DFS based on that very moderate price.
Paul, I know we love to give you a tough time here, but $6,400. Mitch Marner managed to assist at least on all 3 Toronto goals in that loss on Tuesday.
That is got to be the quietest 3-point game I've seen out of Mitch Marner all season long, and he's one of 2 guys I'm considering, and they're both in the same game, guys. I know you can make a case for Marner, top player in the league, low price tag, but how about on the other side? You got the Bolts captain, Toronto-born Steven Stamkos, was one Tampa star who didn't really factor into that 7-goal outburst in Game 1. You can bet he wants to play a part in burying his former hometown team, and so I might say it's a coin flip between the 2 guys, and you might want to go with the Tampa captain if you believe that the Lightning will prevail again. He'll cost only $6,700, so no matter which way you go in this game, you got a cheap, high-end option, I think, to choose from.
All right, Paul, take us to the blue line. Cale Makar, most expensive dude here by far at $7,500. What's up? You want to pay all the way up or save some money at this position?
Jesse, normally you know me well enough to think that I might shy away from that pick, but Colorado needs a rebound in a big way after that poor playoff opener. And I think I might turn to Makar, who is going to cost that $7,500 price tag, expecting him to play a ton of minutes. He's going to get all the high leverage stuff. You know that for sure. And the pressure's on him to lead Colorado's rebound to get back into this set. Alternatively, another guy in the same pickle is Alex Pietrangelo of the Vegas Golden Knights. Again, losers of Game 1 in that set. And he's similarly profiled as the pillar of that blue line, both offensively and defensively. He costs $6,200, so you save a little bit of money there. He'll be similarly cast as the offensive catalyst from the back end who needs to lead his team to that rebound against the Kraken.
All right, Pete, is Cale Makar worth the pricey price tag, or are you looking down the board?
If I'm going Colorado with the bounce back storyline, I would probably prefer to roster Devon Taves, who's been an assist machine, or Bowen Byram for a more moderate price. But on defense, I'm looking at Mikhail Sergachev, right? When injuries happen in the playoffs, we have to react quickly. Victor Hedman is possible for Game 2 after getting banged up in Game 1. Eric Chernak got injured on the bunting play, of course, so he's not going to play. That's unfortunate. So Tampa's defense is a little banged up. They still have the matchup advantage in many situations, including power play 1, where, I mean, they made the Leafs pay in Game 1, to say the least, for a lot of mistakes and poor discipline. So, and when you look at Sergachev, body of work for the season, absolutely shattered his previous career high in points. Previous high was 40. He dropped 64 this season and 27 on the power play. And that's when he's sharing that amazing ice time and exposure to Kucherov and point. He's sharing it with Hedman and still was able to put up crazy monster numbers like that. So I'll go Sergachev, whether Hedman plays or not.
Pete, I need you to save us even more money right now. Your value play du jour, please.
I'll go Calle Yarncroke. I think he's for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's been playing on the top line with Matthews and Marner. He'll get points by accident playing up there. He scored a goal in Game 1, career high 20 goals this season. So he's been making the most of his minutes with Toronto. Bounce back spot for them at home. Wouldn't be surprised if they tied the series and put a little scare into Tampa, especially if Tampa's without Hedman. Keep a keen eye on that. But either way, Yarncroke is one of those guys for less than 4K in DFS to pounce on here because of his lineup placement.
Paul, who do you recommend in the value play department?
Well, Yarncroke was my 4th pick. I've got 3 other guys to consider. 2 of them are on one line for New Jersey. Consider Thomas Tatar playing wing on the top line, costing $3,500. And on the other side, you got Mercer, another solid low-cost play at $4,400. They're playing alongside Nico Hischier, one of the offensive catalysts for the Devils, who needs to be heard from tonight, while I expect the Rangers' best defenseman and defensive checkers will be opposing the Jack Hughes line. So there's an opportunity for both wingers there to bring value in that situation. I also like, for the Vegas Knights, Barbashev playing first-line minutes alongside Jack Eichel and Jonathan Marchessault. He comes in at $3,600. So you got a total of 4 guys that we've covered here so far that are sub $5,000 players who should be returning value in prime situations.
All right. Thank you, guys. Your job here is done. Appreciate it. Now to the football, and football portion of the show.
Really?
Those are 2 different sports. AJ and Chinmay going to join us for their sweaty boot plays. That's coming up next. Golic and Smetty, though, they like the Jalen Hurts extension. Okay, who doesn't? But what does it mean for the rest of the league?
The rest of the league doesn't like it.
You think Eagles fans are happy today?
Eagle fans should be happy today. I mean, you know, because I was on a couple of podcasts and people are saying, "Oh, will you do that?" And then you're crushing the cap. And I'll always lean back to my friend Andrew Brandt, who was in the front office with the Packers when Favre was there and Rodgers was there, so he knows the business part of football. He has said, and I agree, it's a lazy excuse to say they're taking up all the cap space. That's why you have capologists. That's why you have to look over down the future when somebody has to be paid, about what they're going to be paid. You kind of know the range of it to what they're going to be paid. So, you know, that's up to the team to figure it out. And it's a lazy excuse to say, well, the quarterback's making so much money we can't build around him. So I agree with Andrew.
Where your quarterback's so good, he has to be paid a lot. There's like dozens of NFL teams that have that problem.
And it's amazing. People say, would you pay Jalen Hurts that? My answer back is always, who are you going to get? So what if you don't pay him? What are you going to do then? What you just were in the Super Bowl? Are you not? I mean, Jalen Hurts hit it right. Took his team to the Super Bowl, got a new deal. It was awesome. So congrats to him. And listen, he's the highest paid right now, and then Justin Herbert will be, and then Joe Burrow will be. Lamar Jackson probably would pass that maybe if he signs before them. But those are the next 3 that are going to set the next precedent. Jess, how soon is it going to be until we get a quarterback whose average annual salary is $60 million?
Sooner than we all.
I mean, my God.
All right, catch Golic and Smetty. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
You know
nope,
what?
I want you to go ahead.
I don't want to do this anymore.
All right. Catch them. Catch their show this week, okay? They have more on the Jalen Hurts deal, the Anthony Bass drama, the RBC Heritage, NBA, and NHL playoffs. The last 2 episodes of Succession, you need to catch up.
I do.
Plus,
no spoilers.
Yeah, Jess Smetana is going to join us on The Sweat tomorrow, so that's going to be cool.
You're talking to her.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to her, yep.
Couple Jesses.
Yep, J squared. What did you, baby?
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
Let's bring in Chinmay Vade. You have DK Nation. Let's bring in RotoWire's AJ Schultz because, gentlemen, the Premier League title race, it is coming down to the wire. Some huge games coming up between now and the final day. Seemingly meaningless game tomorrow. Arsenal against Southampton. So Arsenal top of the table. Their opponent bottom of the table. But given Man City is off this week, AJ, how important is this game for the Gunners bidding to move 7 points clear here?
It's a huge one. I mean, obviously, you know, they'll Man City will have a game in hand, but they need to win, I think, to stay ahead. City has just looked so good this season. So for me, I think it's borderline a must win. Be pretty disappointing to only get a point from a team at the bottom of the table.
Where do you sit on this, Chopra?
Well, I think every game for Arsenal now has become a meaningful game because of the draws that they had in the last 2 matches. And City actually would gain another game in hand on them because of the week off. So City would have 2 games to make up on Arsenal. So they basically do need that extra point that they would have because there is a return leg next week with Arsenal and Manchester City. And now Arsenal have put themselves in a position where they basically have to take points from that game to maintain their lead at the top of the table and have this cushion. So, yeah, they need a win here. They need a big win to not only get those points, but also get some confidence back after 2 sloppy draws, quite frankly. They should have beaten Liverpool after going up 2-0, and they should have beaten West Ham after going up 2-0. So it's been sloppy a little bit for Arsenal the last few matches, and they need a bounce back here, not just in terms of points, but in terms of regaining some confidence in what is sure to be a heated title race. The pressure's on now, and now it's time to perform for Mikel Arteta's squad.
Sorry, I called you the wrong name there for a second because I was talking to my buddy AJ. My bad.
Yeah, wow. I mean, okay. Well, Chinmay, it is a two-team race for the top of the table, right? And then Tottenham and Newcastle are also in the mix for a top 5 finish. Spurs are the underdog this weekend. So what's a bet that you like in this one? Chinmay.
Well, Tottenham money line at plus 310 is obviously a great play. And then Tottenham double chance minus 105 is also an excellent option here. I think Newcastle have kind of found their mojo again, but I really like Spurs who've kept this good thing going for a little bit. Both teams coming off a shocking loss, quite frankly, last week. So I'll take Spurs here. Money line is intriguing, but if you're not feeling quite as confident that they'll get the W, double chance is the right play.
All right, AJ, what do you think?
I actually was thinking about Spurs double chance. It's minus 105 when I first looked at this, but then I started to dig into it, and Tottenham's been pretty bad away from home. They've got defeats to Man City and Man U. They lost to Leicester even on the road, and Newcastle has just one home defeat this season, and that was against Liverpool when goalkeeper Nick Pope took a red card in the 22nd minute. Nothing's going to shuffle up your lineup more than having your goalie sent off in the first half. So I really actually like Newcastle at home here, and I'm going to take them on the money line. It's minus 120, still a decent return there, and I think they'll defend the house here and get a win at home.
All right, Chinmay, hook me up with your favorite goal scorer prop. Chinmay, you got me?
Well, I think, Harry Kane, obviously plus 160 as an anytime scorer is a great option. Ollie Watkins for Aston Villa has been flying at the moment. AJ had him as a sweaty boot pick a few weeks ago, and he delivered there. He's at plus 150. And then a little bit of a long shot. James Maddison for Leicester has been in a big slump, but I think Wolves have given up so many goals of late that Maddison at plus 220 is a very intriguing option for a little bit higher odds. But I would go Kane and Watkins as more surefire picks for me. Comes in at decent value, and they've both been scoring very consistently. So Kane plus 160, Watkins plus 150 if you like the long shot for Maddison, plus 220.
AJ, where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep it simple, and we're trying to make the people here some money. Ollie Watkins at plus 150 is ridiculous. I don't think it should be that high. It should maybe be plus 110. Talking about a guy with goals in 10 of his last 12 games, 6 consecutive road games in which he scored a goal. So I don't even care that he's on the road here. Brentford is bottom half of the league in terms of goals allowed. So just keep this simple. Go with Ollie Watkins again. I know I've been talking about him pretty much every week here, but he keeps scoring. And the value is there more than it really should be at plus 150. So ride that train until it doesn't hit.
All right, it is time, everybody, for the sweaty boot. All right, your best bet of the week is what, AJ?
Well, honestly, I probably should have just stuck with Ollie Watkins here for my sweaty boot. I relied on Arsenal last week trying to get one up on Chinmay, and that failed. So we're going to go just Ollie Watkins adjacent here. I'm going to take Aston Villa on the money line at plus 185. Look, you could play it safe and go Villa draw no bet comes in at plus 100. I actually like that. But in terms of the sweaty boot, we got to go for wins here. We can't go for pushes. There's no point. So let's go with the big payout here. Aston Villa on the money line plus 185.
All right, Chinmay, what's up? Sweaty boot time.
Two teams that have not really delivered for either of us in the sweaty boot this year, but I'm rolling with them on form right now. Bournemouth and West Ham. I'm going to go both teams to get a goal. Yes, for both teams to score. That comes in at minus 125. I've railed on both these teams all this season, but hopefully they both find a way to put one in the back of the net this week. That's my sweaty boot pick of the week.
All right, gentlemen, appreciate it. We will go from football to football when our experts weigh in on some draft needs for the teams around the NFC South coming up. Hey, Pierce Dietrich, Jeff Ulrich, I'm glad that we have you guys here for our final block. We're going to rip through the NFC South teams. We're going to talk their draft needs because a week from today, the NFL Draft arrives. We will start with the Bucs, who reportedly have some interest in Trey Lance here, man. Not quite sure how that could impact them tackling their needs in the draft. What do you think their biggest need is right now, Pierce?
I think they really need to address the offensive line. They got a bunch of defensive holes they need to go after as well. But where they are drafting in that 10 to 20 range, there's plenty of good offensive linemen that will be available. If they're going to go after a quarterback, why not try to trade with Arizona and get Kyler Murray? I don't know if that's really going to happen, but I would like to see it. Maybe they can get a quarterback in the second round and Hendon Hooker. Who knows? But line will be where I start.
All right, Jeff Ulrich, they're picking 19th right now.
I definitely agree they have to go offense here. You look at some of the offensive stats for the Bucs last season, 25th in yards per pass attempt, 20th in EPA per play on offense, but they were terrible rushing the ball. 30th in offensive DVOA in 2022, last in yards per carry, last in rush yards per game. I think going O-line makes sense, and I think trying to get a run blocker makes sense as well. Paris Johnson would be a great target for them. But I also think they could go wide receiver here. Quentin Johnson, they need a Mike Evans replacement soon. I think Mike Evans is kind of on that verge of potentially falling off. He's got a big contract they may want to get out of soon. Quentin Johnson, wide receiver. They have some aging wide receivers with injury concerns. I could see that happening as well.
All right, let's move to the Panthers. Obviously going to be going QB at 1, but they also have number 39, so they can find a good player there too. Jeff, what position should they be targeting in the second round here?
Yeah, look, the Panthers, when you trade away that much draft capital to get a number 1 quarterback, which is what they're going to do, you need to build around the quarterback. They've got some good young players on defense. I think that they would do well to try and get like a Quentin Johnson at wide receiver. They may have to move up to grab him. But if you could come away with Bryce Young and a guy like Quentin Johnson, a big wide receiver who can play alongside DJ Chark and Adam Thielen and kind of take those wide receiver 1 responsibilities in theory, I think that would be a great move. But again, building out the O-line behind a number 1 draft pick as well makes a lot of sense. So I would look for them either to go wide receiver or O-line here, but whatever choice it is, it really should be complementary to the Bryce Young pick.
Pierce, what's your take here?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily disagree, but yeah, if wide receiver's there, take it. If a offensive lineman's there, then take it. But don't, jump the gun. Make sure that that's a top talent. I think the best place would be to go with a pass rusher. There's a lot of edge rushers available, especially at this selection. Some might fall through the cracks. So I think they're going to go defense. It's a passing league, and if you can't get a top-end cornerback, then you go with an edge rusher.
Pierce, the needs are many for the rebuilding Falcons, who have actually spent some cash in free agency here, currently sitting with the 8th overall pick. What direction do you think they could go in?
Offensive line, I don't think this offense is too far off. Maybe Ritter plays better. Taylor Heineke's a halfway decent quarterback. They've got a lot of young talent at wide receiver, running back, and tight end. You improve the offensive line, which wasn't too bad. So I'd like to see them trade down and get in that 10 to 20 range, pick up an offensive lineman, or maybe they even get an offensive lineman in the second round. But if they stay where they are, then they're probably going to get a high-end pass rusher. Vaness has been one of the guys they're looking at.
Jeff, even if they do like Ritter as their long-term quarterback, they owe them better weapons and protection.
Well, I mean, they have weapons. I mean, like Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Tyler Algier. I mean, I don't think they need to go.
Kyle Pitts, been an absolute bum.
Okay, well, come on. Calm down over there. Jeez. Sheesh. Anyways, I don't think they need to dip back into that pool. But O-line is certainly a possibility. I think they have to go edge rusher. This team has been bottom 5 in terms of creating pressure, sacks per game. Tyree Wilson, if he's there, I mean, this guy could just be an absolute freak, a guy who just leads their defense for years to come. Averaged over 13.5 tackles for losses and 7 sacks over his last 2 years of college. If he's there at 8, I would be kind of shocked if they don't go that way. I think they need to improve the interior line with a rusher.
All right, well, Saints also have 2 top 40 picks, 29 and 40, and a lot of needs too, Jeff. So what positions do they need to shore up as Derek Carr enters his first season under center? And, I mean, when you look at this, obviously they hit the jackpot with, Chris Olave, but do they need to improve his receiving core, really, to make sure that he succeeds in this year 1?
Well, I mean, you have to plan for the inevitable Mike Thomas injury in week 1.5. I mean, what is the over-under on Mike Thomas's games? 2.5? Yeah, I mean, wide receiver is definitely – look, you went in all in on Derek Carr. You're making a run for the NFC South. It's a weak division. I kind of get it. But you're all in on an aging quarterback who really declined last year. You have to support him. It's either O-line or wide receiver here for me in the top 2 drafts. I think that offensive line there with the Saints, with the odds of sitting at plus 225 actually makes some sense. But I don't even hate the wide receiver call here. Again, I mean, like after Chris Olave, you can't count on Mike Thomas. So if one of these top wide receivers drops to the Saints, I could absolutely see them taking him. But you have to make a pick here, in my opinion, that supports Derek Carr, because that is exactly where you put all your chips for 2023.
Pierce, Michael Thomas has missed 80% of the games over the past 3 years.
Yeah, but he looks like he's
going to
in
pick up
great
the
shape.
league in touchdowns, by the way. So, but regardless.
Well, did you see his recent video of him doing deadlifts? And
Yeah.
then a day later, the NFL tests
That'll help him on the field.
The NFL thinks he's in pretty good shape and ready to go. This could be an exciting receiving core, and I'm with Jeff. I don't know if the GMs necessarily agree, but it would be great to get Carr another wide receiver, maybe a tight end like Kincaid falls to them, or you just take best available and build the defense. But I would love to see them get a wide receiver. There should be someone available at the back end of the first round or the second round.
All right, thanks, dudes. That's all the time we have for this show. We're back here in studio, 11 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow morning. We will see you guys and gals then. Peace.